Join us as we proclaim the good, the true, and the beautiful with the simple truth of Jesus Christ and His holy Catholic Church through Scripture, tradition, and the Catechism. And now, your host, Jim Havens.
It is great to be back with you on The Simple Truth, where we proclaim the life-giving reality of Jesus and His Catholic Church. We consecrate everything to the Sacred Heart of Jesus through the Immaculate Heart of Mary and the pure, strong heart of Saint Joseph. It is Wholeness and Healing Monday, fighting to cultivate the health of the whole person, mind, body, and soul, with our co-host, my lovely wife, Becky Havens. Becky is a Catholic wife and mother with a passion and calling to educate people about the importance of caring for our bodies that the Lord has blessed us with by living a healthy lifestyle. She's also the author of Toxin Free in 12 Months, a 12-month guide to help you to transition over to a toxin-free lifestyle. She also wrote a boycott list of over 300 pro-abortion companies, and you can get them both for free. Learn more at her website, safehavensmama.com. And we are breaking into a bit of that today with our topic, avoiding woke companies. So we put our survey out this morning. We got a bunch of responses there. Always best to call in if you can, because we can't read every survey response, but we will do our best to encapsulate as much as we can from the survey. We do appreciate those responses. And if you're not on that list, to get the survey every Monday morning, you can get on the list and participate in the survey by going to thestationofthecross.com, The Simple Truth, and then scrolling down the page, putting your email address in there, opting in to basically this show, The Simple Truth, its email list that we email that survey out to every Monday morning. So we're going to put the phone number out in just a little bit. And also off the top today, I do want to make mention, we did have the National Men's March to Abolish Abortion Rally for Personhood over the weekend, Saturday morning in Boston, Massachusetts. It was a blessed event. I want to thank once more everybody who was a part of it in any way, the speakers, everybody who showed up and was there. Just very grateful for their presence, that we could all be together and really stand up and shine the light of Christ out into a culture that is that is hungering and thirsting for Him, even though much of it is they're unaware, unconscious of that. And I think we saw a lot of that this weekend. And may God fill it all with His grace, all the hearts and minds that saw us, that heard us, that interacted with us in any way. And may God be glorified, conversions, and may it change perhaps the eternal destiny of many souls, and perhaps save a lot of lives as well, as we continue to try to drive towards the end of this ongoing daily mass murder of our littlest brothers and sisters in the womb by raising awareness about it and being honest about it and trying to help people to wake up to that. So that's a real awakening that we need. But today we're talking about here avoiding woke companies. That's a different sort of awakeness. Wokeness is what we're talking about here, which is a certain buzzword in our time today. Becky, we're going to get into defining that in just a moment. That was the first question of our survey. But first, why this topic? What intrigues you here? And I will just mention to folks who do want to hear more about what happened over the weekend with the Men's March and talk more about that. We're going to have a whole show dedicated to much of that on Friday with Father Stephen Imperato. So stay tuned for that. But if you do want to call in on it today, have any questions, anything that you want to say, share any good fruits, certainly we can always take those calls, 1-877-511-5483. That's 1-877-511-5483. But by way of introduction on this topic here, avoiding woke companies, Becky, what intrigues you about it? Why is this something that is top of mind for you?
Yeah, I think that, we hear a lot about different things going on in the world, and you have examples like Target and Bud Light and the big things out there, and it kind of catches fire and it kind of gets you to think, all right, what else should I be avoiding? Like, that's the obvious stuff. That's the stuff that's out there. What else am I supporting, and how can I find that out? And, my story goes back several years, where I really started to dig deep into this type of thing to really find companies that I felt good about supporting. I feel like it's always been on my heart to really just know who the company is I'm supporting and why it is. And I think I got a really good taste of that in my own experience with the company I was working for. And to know that there were people that had no idea. And I really felt called to share more about that and to expose it, really, because here's a company making money off of all these good people, and they're giving it to really bad companies or organizations or pro-abortion places or LGBTQ companies. The whole thing for me was that I want to make sure I have nothing to do with giving my money in to any kind of company in that way. And so I kind of just started for my own personal desire, and then people started asking more and more, and I thought, I don't think there's anything out there that people have at their fingertips to use. And so over the past 2 years, I've really gathered a lot of different information for, sharing this information with other people. And I have quite a few things out there that people can get for free. And that kind of is the story of it for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. Yeah, we're going to put the number out in a moment to get people's thoughts, questions, comments on this topic, avoiding woke companies. But as we talk about it, pretty quickly, we want to define what do we mean by woke? That's a question that comes up a bit. And so when we asked this question in the survey, lots of different answers. I thought this was maybe one of the best that I saw. It said a broad platform to advance mainly immoral lifestyles and false ideology into the mainstream as being acceptable. I thought that was pretty strong. And I would even maybe just add, instead of just being acceptable, being what you must accept, what you have to accept, or else then you are somehow a racist, or you are somehow a hater, or however people want to label you. It was interesting with the Men's March. I will mention this, a sort of a hit piece that came out on Sunday from the Boston Globe regarding our event. They tried to make it seem as if this had something to do with. They tried to say, well, there were a couple of people there who had some insignia on or something, some logo of white supremacy, and basically trying to connect us to some ideology of white supremacy, which is absolutely absurd. Sorry, I don't think white supremacists, by the way, would be for abortion, because abortion is racist in the way that it is being used in our time, and it is basically exterminating the black race, the black community. Walter Hoy, who is a speaker at every single one of our events, speaks eloquently to it. He did at our conference. People can check that out at themensmarch.com. But anyway, it's just ridiculous, right? So if you stand up and if you shine some light and do some good, that's one of the quickest ways that they're going to try to target you, is to try to say you're racist or something like that. Anything that, if they can pin that to you or something like that to you, they want to basically try to connect you with something like that. And so that's what takes place here. This is not just like some ideology that, like, well, you can take it or leave it. I think when we're talking about woke, we're talking about, look, this is something that truly is, it's atheistic secular humanism, which means that it wants to kick God out of an understanding of the human person, and it wants to redefine what humanity is. Certainly Marxism is a part of this, which is the total rejection of moral truth and the concept of intrinsic evil, a rejection of natural law. And again, redefining what it means to be human. Critical race theory is tied up in this. Black Lives Matter as an organization is tied up in this, and those that promote it, also the so-called LGBTQ plus, whatever we want to say. The alphabet keeps going on with this one. And I do want to caution people, let's not use that labeling. Let's say those who are struggling with homosexuality or same-sex attraction or gender dysphoria. But to use the label is almost accepting this as a thing when in fact it really is not an identity. It's an ideology that's being pressed upon us that is not in accord with what is true and good. And so it needs to be exposed for what it is. And these companies that are pushing it need to be exposed for doing so and what they're all about. And certainly we don't want to support them. But Becky, anything further in terms of defining woke?
Yeah, in my experience and all the research that I've done, I'm pretty strict about that word. And if a company even like dances around those ideas, for me, that's a no. And mainly because I don't want them to have my money. It might seem small, a drop in the bucket, just, a $10 purchase. For me, though, it is about the small amount. And if enough people do catch on and it does add up, I think it really makes a big difference, like we saw with Target and Bud Light. And we're just regular Americans. We don't have a ton of money. We're not spending a ton of money on these things, but little bits. And I think people can make excuses very easily to really not follow through on that commitment. But I feel like once you commit and once you're aware, you can stick to it.
All right, very good. Yep, talking about the topic today, avoiding woke companies. If you want to call in any question or comment on this, 1-877-511-5483. That's 1-877-511-5483. We're going to dig deeper when we get back, ask the questions such as, do you know if the companies that you buy from support abortion and or woke ideologies? Do you still buy from any companies that you know do support abortion and or woke ideologies? If so, why do you do so? We're going to dig deeper on all this. Again, if you have any comment, question, anything you want to speak to on this, give us a call, 1-877-511-5483. That's 1-877-511-5483. Going to share some great free resources with you when we get back as well. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This is Franciscan Media's Saint of the Day for November 6th. Today we celebrate St. Nicholas Tavalich and companions. Today's saint and his 3 companions are among the 158 Franciscans to have been martyred in the Holy Land since the friars became custodians of the shrines and holy places in 1335. Nicholas was born in 1340 to a wealthy noble family in Croatia. He joined the Franciscans and was sent to preach in Bosnia. In 1384, he and a fellow friar volunteered to serve in the Holy Land missions. Their duties included looking after the holy places, caring for the Christian pilgrims, and studying Arabic. In 1391, Nicholas and 3 other friars decided to take a more direct approach to converting the Muslim population. Reading from a prepared statement in Jerusalem's Mosque of Omar, they stated that all people must accept the gospel of Jesus. When the mosque official ordered them to retract the statement, they refused. After beatings and imprisonment, the friars were beheaded before a large crowd. In 1970, Nicholas Tavalich and his companions became the first Franciscans martyred in the Holy Land to be canonized. There's more about the saints along with inspiration and Catholic resources at our website, saintoftheday.org. From Franciscan Media, this has been Saint of the Day.
As part of our efforts to teach the beauty of our faith, we're broadcasting a special educational lesson every Wednesday called Lessons in Latin. I'm Canon Bourgeois, a priest of the Institute of Christ the King, Sovereign Priest. These mini teachings break down the history of the various parts of the Holy Mass. You can hear Lessons in Latin on Wednesdays at approximately 5:15 a.m., 3:45 p.m., and 9:40 p.m. Eastern Time. That's Lessons in Latin, Wednesdays at 5:15 a.m., 3:45 p.m., and 9:40 p.m. on the Station of the Cross Catholic Media Network.
The Simple Truth, talking today about avoiding woke companies. Ask the question in that first segment, how do you define woke? I do want to point people to a resource that can give them a lot more just on the understanding of the definition of what woke means and where it comes from, a whole history and everything like that. A great book called Awake, Not Woke. This is by the author Noelle Maring. It's Awake Not Woke, a Christian response to the cult of progressive ideology. Did an interview with her on this book maybe about a year and a half ago. You can maybe search and find that, or you can pick up the book and read through it. Here's just one example of what it says here. It says that this is an ideology with fundamentalist and even cult-like characteristics that is on a collision course with Christianity, where the very nature of God is ordered, unitive, and generative. The spirit of this counter movement is at its core the very nature of the devil, chaotic, divisive, sterile. While woke ideology appears as a benevolent fight for justice, it is far from that. It lures us in with an appeal to our better nature, then it replaces intelligible principles with distorted ones, resulting in incoherence and chaos. What if under the guise of eradicating bigotry, we have entrenched it? What if in trying to coexist, we have siloed ourselves into warring tribes? What if where once there was civic friendship, we have introduced resentment and division? What if in undermining the source of authority, we have imprisoned ourselves in an endless scramble for power? It goes on and it says that the stakes could not be higher. Let's begin naming it. And the book goes on from there. It's, again, Awake Not Woke, a great place to go deeper on all of this. But again, Becky, anything else that you want to share just on the nature of the definition itself, or anything to say about companies that are getting involved in this?
Yeah, I would just say that in general, when you think of, shopping or where you're shopping, I would say like 99 or 95 to 99% of companies have some kind of connection to some kind of wokeness or abortion, care, how they call it now, LGBTQ type of connection. It's very, very hard to find organizations that do not have some kind of connection. So it takes a lot of work, and I think that's where people get stuck, is they don't really know where to go from there, and they think this is too overwhelming. You know what? I don't care. I'm just going to do what I kept doing and before, and just keep going. But I have been able to really gather all of those companies. I've done hours and hours of research, mainly because I'm interested myself. I really enjoy doing it. And I think it's really important for us to have that available. It's very difficult to find that. I have not found one resource that is free for people to use. There's some resources out there that do cost money. But I've kind of put quite a few things together that, in my mind, I feel like people just have the right to know. I feel like it's just to have that information available, and most companies will not freely share that. And so you have to dig a little deeper, and you have to kind of know how to do it. But I think once you get the hang of it, it's really simple on where to find this and what clues will stick out to you immediately, very quickly. You can start to read companies and you can say, yep, that's not where I want to go. Some are a little bit trickier and you got to dig a little bit deeper, but I think it's possible for all of us to get in the habit of doing that. I think when people join together and commit to that, it makes a difference. But I get why it's difficult, but I think educating on how to do that is going to be really important.
Mm-hmm. The topic today, avoiding woke companies. The number to call in any question or comment on this, 1-877-511-5483. That's 1-877-511-5483. We did ask folks in the survey if you know what the companies that you buy from, if they support abortion and or woke ideologies. We had a lot of no's. People aren't really sure, not on top of this. Some people said they know some of the companies, if they do or not, and only one said that most of the time they do know about the companies, but that's rare. Nobody said they know about every single company they're buying from. And so yeah, I mean, that just seems like that's true to life. I mean, I will personally say, look, I'm far from getting this one right at this point, and probably for the same reasons as many of you, is that my focus is on doing all this other good work that I'm responsible for and called to do. That is, look, it's got me running pretty ragged as it is, to be able to stop and to vet these companies and to even think about that and to put that work in. Is it important? Yeah, especially when you step back and you're listening to this topic today. Of course, yeah, we don't want to support this stuff, even in a indirect way. At the same time, it is very difficult to make it a priority to put the time in when, again, it's almost like we're just scrambling just to get done what's on our plate, so it is difficult. It is challenging. I acknowledge it. And I'm married to somebody who's got the resources and is doing all this work. And I still don't know. And I'm still probably buying from a lot of these companies all the time. And so I'm going to work on this today as we go. I'm going to check out these resources and get more understanding on this and do a better job on this. And I hope all of you can do the same as well. So Becky, tell us a little bit more about what goes into vetting these companies. It probably does take a lot of time. We do thank you for putting together resources where maybe we don't have to do so much of the vetting part, and you can just kind of tell us. Is that what you have in your resource?
Yeah, I have pretty much all the information for everyone, but my list that I have, I have a boycott list of all the companies that I could personally find, and these are the most popular ones. But even with that, it must be about 700 companies in total, and that's probably just scratching the surface. Those are divided into different categories to make it easy, and that's free. That's right on my website. I'm actually updating that right now. I'm just about finished, so I should be able to update that later tonight, the new one. But I do have an older one that was from 2022, but the list grew quite a bit, and so I really feel like I needed to update that. So you can find the majority of companies probably that you're looking for on that list. I do a lot of specialty work on health and beauty companies, because that was where originally that kind of took me in that direction when I was with a company who, I realized they were supporting really bad things, and I didn't know, and many people in the company did not know, and they tried to hide it. And I felt like that was so wrong. And in my conscience, I could not continue to ask people to support that. And so I had to come clean with that. I felt like I had done something wrong. And I think that's really important to, correct yourself and make it right. And so I tackle a lot of the beauty and health space, and that's huge. I would say 100%. There's 99% of companies that are somehow connected to abortion or woke ideology in some way. It's actually very difficult to find ones that are. So I did put together a shopping list for anybody who is interested on the companies that I either personally use or that I have heavily vetted. Most of the times I will try to contact a company and just straight out ask, can you tell me if you guys support abortion, or can you show me who you donate to? Because a lot of times a company will have a social side of their business, and that's where they're giving 1% up to 10% of all their purchases to different nonprofit organizations. And in my list, I also have a bunch of nonprofit organizations who are heavily connected to abortion. And so it does take time. I do go through and then I look at each of those organizations that they're giving to, and then decide okay, are they somehow connected to funding abortion in some way? So the company in itself might not even realize it, but they're giving a certain percentage of all your money that you're buying with your purchase, and then they're giving it to this other organization that might be handing out contraception to young girls, might be teaching LGBTQ classes in their daily activities to different kids. I see that so often because people think it's normal. They think it's good. They think that's what people deserve. And so even in that, there's a connection. And so that's kind of the depth of the research that I do. I really go in and make sure that there is no connection at all. So that is overwhelming. I get overwhelmed myself when I do that. And so I did create just a simple shopping list that I feel really good about buying for ourselves, for our family, and anybody else who is interested in that. So just to make it easier. A lot of times people don't want to know all the bad things. They just want to be okay, well, who can I buy from, right, and what do you recommend? So I feel like that it's a 2-page list. That's all I have so far, because I'm pretty I'm pretty specific about who I personally will support, but I'm always happy to help anybody vet a company for them. I get a lot of requests for that, like from friends or on social media, and I'm always happy to do it. But I also think it's important to learn how to do it yourself so that you can just do a quick search, figure out how to do it. Mm-hmm. And there's definitely some ways as well to go through and do that.
Great. So people can go and get that free resource that you've put together of these non-woke companies that you would encourage, say, purchase from them. So that's just making it as simple as possible. Here's the good ones. They can go to safehavensmama.com, get that free resource. But can you share a few of those names with us now? Who are some of these non-woke companies that we would be familiar with, perhaps?
Sure. So if you go to the website, safehavensmama.com, it's going to have a pop-up, and you just put your email in there, and it's actually just going to pop right up. And I put all the links to everything on there for you just to click on and feel free to use. I have a lot of coupon codes. A lot of the companies are happy to support this list and are excited that their name is on there. So there's a lot of discounts on there as well. So some of these might not be super popular because, again, they're going to be smaller. And I think that's actually more important to support smaller companies. These are a lot of times families that are trying to, serve their communities. And so I think that's really important as well. So I broke it up into sections for beauty, skincare, and personal, then coffee and tea, because that's a really big one. You'd be surprised how many coffee places support abortion, strangely enough. Perfume and candles, and then I have others, just kind of miscellaneous. I'm trying to pick out some bigger names for the beauty. We have Crunchy, makeup and skincare. That's who I personally use and who I always recommend. I've heavily vetted that company, and I know that they are on a path that has nothing to do with any of that stuff. There's some wellness lines like Earthly, and Rocasa. There's some really smaller ones like Rocky Mountain Remedies, who's a friend of mine, and she does great work, and she's pro-life. There's Patriot Shave and Razors. I love these. I love this company. If you go to their website, they are 100% pro-life. They have all your shaving and razor needs. That might sound strange, and it might be easier to just go on Amazon and get everything. But I think it's really important to use these individual companies and support them. That's what's going to keep them in business. You can go through it a little bit after the break if you want to.
Yeah, sounds good. If you have a comment or question on this topic today, avoiding woke companies, give us a call, 1-877-511-5483. That's 1-877-511-5483. And we also did ask folks, if you still buy from such companies, what would motivate you to stop? And many people said, hey, just a better awareness of which one, some kind of heads up, an alternative place to buy. As long as I can purchase necessary items elsewhere, I would stop shopping and supporting those places, having an option. So that seems to be the thing. People want to know, what are the good places to buy from? If they have that option, they will take the better option. So again, Becky just laid out that free resource, safehavensmama.com. We're going to be right back. Stay tuned.
This is Life News Radio. I'm Jim Anderson. 25 years ago, the isolation of human embryonic stem cells unleashed a barrage of rhetoric, scripted by Hollywood elites and certified by funding-hungry academics. Meanwhile, pro-life critics blasted the loss of life in each distinctly human embryo. Then entered Japan's Shinya Yamanaka. The scientist made the human life connection between destroying embryonic cells and the cells of his own daughters and refused that line of research. Yamanaka won a Nobel Prize after creating ethically derived induced pluripotent stem cells, and embryonic research has mostly fallen by the wayside. Speaker Mike Johnson says the U.S. House plans to examine weaponization of the FBI. If the evidence he has holds up, those responsible will be held to account. He told the Daily Signal that Congress must ensure the FBI returns to being a trusted institution. This is Life News Radio. A culture of life has a rarely mentioned but very formidable enemy. Pornography is material that deceives its consumers into thinking that they possess beauty, while the reality is they are possessed by a lie. The first step may be to talk openly with your pastor or confessor. Reject the lie and recognize that a culture of life relies upon you. Texas abortion numbers continue falling. 2022 figures include Texas abortions done out of state. Chemical abortions make up 60% of abortions there. And suicide prevention organizations in Canada are being frustrated. Mental patients diagnosed after a suicide attempt are not being protected from state efforts to offer them medically arranged suicide. Another bill to protect such persons has failed again in Parliament. For pro-life headlines delivered to your email address daily, sign up at lifenews.com. This has been Life News Radio.
Welcome back to The Simple Truth. Jim and Becky Havens here on Wholeness and Healing Monday, talking about avoiding woke companies and supporting non-woke companies today. Any question or comment on that, give us a call, 1-877-511-5483. Did have one question come in that actually is more of a statement. It's as follows. It's sad that we have all fallen into the trap/prison built for us, in that we have become so accustomed to ease and convenient consumerism that it is extremely challenging for us to give up those qualities when we are under time constraints. This is the challenging call to us all right now, akin to the righteous man being asked to sell everything to follow Jesus. So we thank whoever submitted that. We thank you for that comment. Yeah, very important comment. And I just, again, sharing my own struggles on this a little bit earlier in the show. And the fact is that pace of life is a problem. Being overwhelmed with all the responsibilities on our plate is a problem. And there is a need to slow it down and to really make sure that we are properly seeing things and taking right action. And, you know, in my mind, I try to sort of parse everything out in various categories of responsibilities that I need to accomplish each day and throughout the weeks and months. And one of those categories I think would be the category where this would fall into, in terms of avoiding the woke companies and only trying to do your very best in purchasing things from the non-woke companies to the degree that you can be understanding that. I think it falls for me under the category of household administration, to say, look, I am responsible. Every parent is responsible to make sure that we are running our household and making sure that we're on top of the responsibilities of what it takes to be good administrators of that household. And to do so, this would fall under there, being good stewards, good stewardship with the money that the resources that God has given us, and to say, look, this is very important. It might not seem that. I think this is the other trap too, right? Is that it might not seem that important because we think, well, I'm just one person buying this, and if I just need something really fast and a little bit cheaper, I can just get it from Amazon real quick, and that solves some of the problems that I'm dealing with right in this moment a little bit better for me. And what does it really matter if I buy this small thing from Amazon versus trying to figure out, going to a different company, an option that I might know about that would be a pro-life company or a non-woke company. Maybe you think it doesn't mean that much, but the thing is that if a whole lot of people were doing that, it would mean a lot. And so you're a drop in that bucket, an important drop in that bucket. But also it means a whole lot for your own conscience. It means a whole lot for your own integrity, for the blessing that God wants to bring you and your family. And so to have this area of life sort of squared away, it does seem to me is very important. And I appreciate you, Becky, bringing it to our attention, helping us to get a better handle on this. What else do you want to share with us on it?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that you were just saying. And I think that it really can get us to simplify. So we're so used to buying so much stuff. And like you head to Target and you're spending at least an extra $100 there because you hit up the dollar section that they have, or you go by this aisle or that aisle. It's a temptation. I mean, I've been there myself, where you go and oh, we probably need that, or we probably need this, and you end up spending way more money than you're supposed to anyhow. So it's actually been really easy to stop going to Target and to completely eliminate even the thought of going there, and doing without. Like, we don't need that extra stuff. We're fine without it. So it's a part of, I would say, simplifying, but like refining us as well, because we start to detach from these things and we realize we don't need that. And then we start detaching from worldly things and the need to just have and buy, because that's a distraction. I mean, I get caught up in that too. I love to shop. I have fun doing it. It's exciting sometimes, but it can be unhealthy. And so actually, I feel like God is showing us with things like this that, take a step back. You don't need that. And so there is good in it. It's not just to be a pain or a difficulty, but that, we can gain virtue even in small things like this. And also, I think it's important to be a witness. So you might be just one small person, but that's how these things work. It's by sharing your witness of what you're doing. And that can go both ways. Sharing a witness of scandal, that can be, something we don't want to do, but then sharing a witness of something small, like, well, actually, I'm not going to buy anything from there. And you don't have to sit around and preach and say why, but if somebody asks you, sure, hey, I found this better option. They're actually pro-life and it's better and it's cheaper. That gets the ball rolling around different communities. And I think that's how we motivate each other to keep going. I think that might be a small person doing a small action, but I think it really can make a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting too, because some of these boycotts have kind of caught on, like you were saying earlier, have sort of caught fire. I mean, Bud Light is the most recent, I think, big example. Based on one really terrible move that they made, a woke move to really promote transgenderism, which was just absolutely ridiculous. But people pushed back. They saw that, and that really caught on social media, and people pushed back in a big way. Now Bud Light is out there trying to sort of, they're not saying they're sorry. I don't hear any public apologies, but they are trying to rebrand themselves by pushing themselves into heavy military association now, and heavy UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. They've just done a big deal with Bud Light to try to, get men back, and various other. I think I saw the New England Patriots. Bud Light is the official beer of the New England Patriots. It's like, I'm sorry, when I still see that logo, I'm not forgetting about what they did. If they came out and had some public apology, some public repentance, perhaps, but anything short of that, they remain on the list for me. And so anyway, that was one that caught fire. And I think, as we were talking before the show, maybe because there were other options for that one, there's a whole lot of other beer that somebody can drink besides Bud Light, but maybe something like Disney, which has gone super woke. But there's nothing really like Disneyland and Disney World and some of the shows and movies and things like that Disney does. So if people have a hard time finding alternatives, if they really like Disney's product, then maybe they're willing to compromise more, stick with them. It's harder for a boycott against something like Disney to catch on. I want to ask you that in just a moment, but first I do want to go to the phone lines. We got a caller on. I want to get him right in here. This is Michael from Boston, Massachusetts. Michael, thank you for calling in today. What's on your mind?
I really appreciate it. I try really hard to support pro-life causes, and sometimes it's very hard. And I got in a little late, and I'm very sorry about that if I missed it, if it was already spoken. But Walmart's been some a place that I at times I've thought they went pro-life, they went against, they were supporting backdooring it with Susan B. Coleman, and so I don't know where they stand right now, because I know there's been a big lobby against them. Plus, the supermarkets is another issue that I was concerned. I know Stop and Shop is a no, but some of the other ones, I'm not sure. They've kind of gone back and forth. So that's those are some of my concerns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that, Michael. Yeah, what about Walmart and grocery stores?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. Walmart, I'm going to say, yeah, they have come out with some good things. But again, you're going to find those connections. There's just no way around it with such a humongous company like that. And there's grocery stores. Almost every grocery store is going to be decorating in June with the Pride stuff. If you have no other place to go, I would say just, I don't know, try to avoid that store in June. I mean, you can go up and talk to the customer service people, the manager, and you can say, like, is this necessary? Or like, it matters. I did one time go talk to somebody at a grocery store and say, is there a way you can cover your magazines in some of the aisles, because these are openly really sexualized magazines just in a regular aisle? And they actually went ahead and put in some visors on them. So I feel like if we do ask, I think it can change things. Food is hard. I mean, if you have to feed your family and there's no other place but Kroger, and Kroger does support some woke stuff, then maybe that's just what you have to do. But when you have options and open options all around you, I think that's when it's essential for us to make those changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that call, Michael. And when I was just in Boston for the event this weekend, the Men's March, and then driving up to Nashua for the Holy Hour and the Mass after the Men's March on Saturday, we stopped at a Wegmans on the way. It was like a phenomenal Wegmans up there that we found on the way up to Nashua. And then Becky, I remember coming back and talking to you about it, and you said, yeah, Wegmans has. Even Wegmans has crept into some of this nonsense. Anything more you want to say on that?
Yeah, sadly, even Wegmans has joined it. For those on the West Coast, it's a really awesome grocery chain up in the Northeast, and even in the North in general, and they've caved. And it's probably because they get pressure from customers or clients. I mean, they were just a family-run business. I feel like if people get together and say, we actually don't want this in our store, we actually don't really want you to be doing this, that's what makes the difference, is when people come together and fight on that. You make a big deal about it. Look at what they did with Bud Light. Bud Light is just one company of so many. I mean, Skittles came out with one, and Vitamin Water, and Adidas, and Ritz crackers. It is so many brands that come out with these really crazy commercials or ads for really disgusting stuff. I don't know another way to say it, but it's just totally disordered. And yet we're still buying that, and you might not be aware, and that's okay, because who's really searching all that stuff? But I just think that if it's out there, and if people are aware, and that information is out there, then you can start a trend on all of the different companies who are doing that, because Bud Light was just one, and they're not even the worst of it. Sadly, there are other companies who are doing way worse, and they're companies that ones that we probably buy from. So I think it's just good to just be aware and keep going.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, and didn't have a chance to hear your response to it. But don't you think that has something to do with it, right? The fact that Bud Light beer, there's so many different options. It's easy to boycott them. But when it comes to grocery stores, for instance, in that example, we can't even necessarily name one that we know that would be a non-woke grocery store that is going to ignore Pride Month and just keep going. So what are we supposed to do in that sort of obviously, yeah, you gotta do the best you can, but it's sad we don't have all of these options that we would like to have. Your resource gives us some, but there's a whole lot more that we need, isn't there?
Yeah, there really is. And I think that's a great time for people to step up and offer their talents. I know a lot of people have come out of this whole chaos that we're kind of living through and created businesses out of this. And people are looking for that. They want businesses that are supporting conservative organizations, or that are even just neutral. They just want that company to stick to what that company does. And I think that's, people like that's the need right now. So if you have something that you're working on or something that you can offer people, the need is out there. I think people just need options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we're going to continue to talk about this topic in the final segment coming up after the break. We're talking about avoiding woke companies, supporting non-woke companies. Any question you have, any comment, 1-877-511-5483. That's 1-877-511-5483. This was one thing that I thought was interesting. I posted these two articles side by side after the Texas Rangers won the World Series last week. The first article from June 30th says, headline, Texas Rangers are lone MLB team to ignore Pride Month. And then from last week, Texas Rangers win first World Series title and have them celebrating there. So kind of a good story to see that being rewarded. The only Major League Baseball team to ignore Pride Month wins their first World Series. We're going to be right back with more. Stay tuned.
Here at the Station of the Cross, we proudly bring the truths of the Catholic faith to countless listeners through radio and mobile devices, and we're grateful for the feedback we've received.
It just really connected me to my faith. I always considered myself 100% Catholic, but didn't really realize that I wasn't fully practicing my faith, so I learned so much through the Station of the Cross and began just getting deeper in my prayers and feeling just so much closer to God and so well versed in learning more about the Bible and more about what actually it means to be Catholic. So it became very, very important to me, and I listen to the radio station daily, and I absolutely love it. I make it a regular practice of donating every time they have their fundraising, and just love it and wouldn't want it to ever go away.
If you've been blessed by listening to the Station of the Cross, let us know. Call 1-877-888-6279, extension 112. Then share your testimonial with us.
We hear all the time from listeners who discovered the station by seeing a Try God bumper magnet in traffic. You can request a free bumper magnet and start evangelizing just by driving around town. Go to thestationofthecross.com and click on promotional material under the About tab. There you can request a magnet for your listening area. We even have one for the iCatholic Radio mobile app. Request yours today.
Joe McLean here, host of A Catholic Take, heard on the Station of the Cross each weekday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern. A bold synthesis of information and inspiration, keeping you up to date on the news and issues that you may have missed from a courageous Catholic perspective. That's A Catholic Take, weekday morning, 7 a.m. right here on the Station of the Cross and the free iCatholic Radio mobile app. Download it today. God love you.
Wholeness and Healing Monday on The Simple Truth. Jim and Becky Havens here talking about avoiding woke companies, supporting non-woke companies today on the show. Final segment, any question or comment that you have, now's the time to call 1-877-511-5483. That's 1-877-511-5483. We did ask folks in the survey as well if, let's see, where is it? Do you still buy from any companies that you know do support abortion and or woke ideologies, and if so, why? And the answer is right along the line of what we've been talking about today. One said no, or if I did know, I wouldn't buy from them. Another said, I strive not to unless there is no option. Another said, I try not to, but I'm sure I do out of convenience. Another said, yes, but on a limited basis as possible. Sometimes I still have to order from Amazon, but I try my hardest to order direct from a company's website when possible. My kids' school, sports, clothing, cleats, etc. Because I do not have an option, I only purchase from these companies when I really have no other choice. And so this is what Becky has put together, this resource for us to help us with, to understand at least some of the choices we have that maybe we weren't aware of. Gives us a bunch of options of the non-woke companies, some alternatives that we could be buying from instead of a number of the woke ones that would be more popular that we perhaps are still buying from. So you can get all that if you go to safehavensmama.com, safehavensmama.com for that free resource. Becky, what else would you like to share with us?
Yeah, I think another thing you can do is to shop secondhand. I feel like maybe that hasn't caught on yet. I'm not really sure, but at least in Florida here, we have a ton of options to shop secondhand. So not only is it going to avoid giving money to the clothing companies that you don't want to support, but maybe you like their quality. Maybe it's good quality and that's what works for you. Find a consignment shop. There's kids shops, there's adult shops, and usually these are smaller businesses. So you're going to be all right with not supporting something bad in the consignment shop. A lot of times they're just family run or family owned, but you're going to get the product without supporting that company, and then you're going to get it way cheaper. So even for some of our boys who play baseball, I've been able to buy secondhand cleats and secondhand baseball pants and different things that they need for way cheaper and without feeling like I have to get it all on Amazon. And so that's an option as well. And start making more of your food. I feel like that's something we've been trying to do, even if it's just small things, like starting with bread. You can get really great flour companies you can get on a subscription. It doesn't have to be like the flour you get from the grocery store. You can get a really good kind, the kind that's free of the pesticides, and you can do like every other month you get a shipment and just comes to your door. Another place is Your Standards, and they are like a food co-op, and sometimes you get it, you can get like bulk items, but you can get a ton of food from them, and they're a really great company to support. That's something we've looked into doing for a while now. At some point, I think we'll pull the trigger on that, but that would be the majority of your food coming in, and it's just, again, living simply. So you're not running off to McDonald's or Burger King or wherever the fast food place is, or the grocery store is constantly relying on them. But you have to make it from scratch a little bit more. And that's okay. It takes a little bit of time, but I think it's actually slows us down a little bit. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just thinking today how much I failed miserably in my gardening experiments trying to grow some potatoes, some sweet potatoes. You're supposed to be able to grow those pretty easily down here in Florida. But I think I even messed that one up. And really all it was I think I just forgot when they were supposed to be done and to start digging them up. And I've just kind of left it. And now the whole garden's overrun with weeds. And again, it's a household administration category for me that I just am realizing, like, I've got to find a way to get more space and make this category a stronger priority to say, okay, these are responsibilities that I want to do better on. I want to be a better steward in this way. How can I sort of box out some of the other stuff and be able to dedicate a little bit more time to this? So I'm going to try again in my gardening experiment. And maybe after several months, I can let you know how that ended up. But we'll see. But we had a few more responses here to that last question that I mentioned about supporting any of the companies that are pro-abortion or woke ideologies. And so a couple other good comments I want to get in here. One is, my understanding is that almost all big businesses support these ideologies to some degree. Although not all of them proudly proclaim it. They say, I will not support Disney, Target, or Bud Light, but I may be unknowingly buying from others that are less renowned. Another says, once I know, I will make every effort not to support them. Recently, Target became a no-go store for me. And then one other comment said, please let us know so we won't support those companies. So again, Becky, any other non-woke companies that you want to really shine a light on? I know you got the free resource for us. You can't go through the entire thing. It's there at safehavensmama.com. People can get it. But any others that you want to highlight, anything else you want to say on it?
Yeah, so there's some great coffee companies. A lot of these coffee companies I'm sharing do support pro-life ministries. I know we have one on there with a special link that we have. 10% of that goes to the Men's March Pro-Life Mission. So that's the one that Jim was just speaking of earlier. You have the Patrice Roasting. They're more of a Latin Mass-based coffee company. They gave us a code for 10% off. Their code is Go Woke, Go Broke, which I think is really funny. And you have some great, just like things that maybe you don't think of, candles or perfumes or books. So there's one called Brave Books. So you don't have to go to Barnes and Nobles. They are really woke, or different bookstores that are out there. Brave Books, it's like their purpose is to have pro-life, conservative, patriotic books for kids. I think they might have adult books too, but that's a site that we have on there. Some clothing stores. We have Pella Vita, which is a pro-life alternative to Etsy. Etsy is also, it's tricky, but they definitely give money to abortion connections in their platform somehow. So it's not the best to be on there, but I know that a lot of women don't have another option. So Pella Vita is a great option. We have some laundry detergents and cleaners. We have seeds. So St. Clair Seeds is a really great pro-life place to get your seeds if you like to grow in the garden. We have toothpaste and balms and essential oils, a lot of great stuff on there. I think just a few other tips to avoid connections to abortions when you're shopping, or any kind of stuff that you're unaware. I know a lot of times, especially as the holidays come up, and they ask, can you round up to this charity? Can you give $1 to this? Unless you've researched that company, I always say, no, not today, thank you. And then I might go home and check them out and see if I can give to them next time. But, March of Dimes that they do, and a lot of these other big ones, they sadly do have connections to abortion. So you want to kind of avoid that. And checking out a website, going on their social media page, you're going to see at least a lot of beauty companies right away. There's men wearing makeup. Okay, I'm going to avoid them. Or different companies, and you're going to see women's rights or reproductive freedom. Okay, I'm going to avoid that. So a lot of times they make it public, which makes it really easy for us. Their website, you go to who do we donate to? Just be a little investigator. Do a little research. And if it's somebody you really love, reach out to that company and say, can you avoid this or give us an alternative? We don't want to support them anymore. Sometimes they just don't know. So just being vocal and, making them aware, I think makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah, this has been very, very helpful. Any final comment, any final message that you want to leave us with today, Becky?
Just if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I have so much knowledge in my mind, and I don't always have a good way to express that. But I have so much research that I've done. So if you have any questions, just reach out to me. There's a spot on my website, the pop-up box that comes up. It says, fill in your email, and it'll say, get your free shopping guide. I think that's what it says. And it'll pop up right there for you.
My name is Nathan Wigfield, Executive Director of the St. Thomas More House of Prayer, a Catholic retreat center in Cranberry, Pennsylvania, with the mission of praying and promoting the Liturgy of the Hours. Our goal is to help people experience the Liturgy of the Hours and discover the prayer that will change their life.
And over to a toxin-free lifestyle, but also that boycott list of over 300 pro-abortion companies, and now the list of the non-woke companies that are good alternatives, good options for us as well. Again, safehavensmama.com. That's safehavensmama.com. If you have any comment or anything for me on the show that you'd like to share, feel free to reach out to Jim H at thestationofthecross.com. That's Jim H at thestationofthecross.com. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can always let us know if there are any topics that you'd like us to cover on future shows as well. But hope you have a great night. God bless you.